people. If crime statistics really mattered to us, we would be talking about white men every damn day. We as white people love to throw around statistics when it comes to the black community.
Hi lovelies, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Belinda Strana. Thank you so much for all the love and support. To my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, and also educate each and every one of us, you guys are the real MVP. So lovelies, I came across the stitches on my For You, and I thought to share where pink-colored people are all out to cut out the BS in their own community. I like the fact that, some of these pink-colored people decided that, okay, enough is enough. There is no point trying to beat around the bush without coming out to spill the real fact, the real issue that they need to really fix in their own community. Despite the fact that everything that is happening all over the world, or anything that has to do with crime, people or the society constantly target that is black people that often commit such a thing. Lovelies, I'm just going to roll the clip as well as some of other stitches I was able to put together. Please leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We are just here for educational and informative purposes. Why not just share your thought in the comment section if you agree with or disagree, and let's dive into it.
If crime statistics really mattered to us, we would be talking about white men every damn day. We as white people love to throw around statistics when it comes to the black community. We love to misconstrue data about poverty rates, crime rates, single-parent households. Here's the thing, if you really want to talk about problematic behavior in terms of statistics, we need to talk about white men. Most mass shootings in America, white men. School shootings, white men. Intimate partner violence, typically known as domestic violence, white men. Police brutality and systemic violence, white men. Online harassment and extremism, white men. Domestic terrorism, white men. Serial killers, white men. The demographic making up the vast majority of CEOs, judges, senators, and police chiefs who refuse to hold white men responsible, white men. And yet us white men are really talked about as being a problem. Few white people are asking what's wrong with white men, what's wrong with the culture. Few white men are demanding that we be fixed. And why? Because we as white men humanize and individualize white violent offenders. And it's time to flip the script. To shame and blame, because I know white males are incredibly fragile when it comes to that, but instead to name what's really going on and who continues to be protected and not held accountable because of selective storytelling. I hope this helps.
White men are the mental health problem in this country. Jim Crow, white men. Slavery, white men. Segregation, white men. Concentration camps for Asian Americans in the late 30s and early 40s. 1,800 people died. How many black people were hung from trees? 8,000. Let me guess. Oh yeah, once again, white men. The gun violence? 98% are men. 84% are white men, U.S. citizens. I see a trend. How about the Middle Passage where 1.2 African Americans died? Oh yeah, once again, white men. Why was the Second Amendment written? Let me think. So black people couldn't have their freedoms. So the white men could once again control them. Who's in the White House? An adjudicated rapist, convicted felon white man. Wow, I see a trend. But somehow Americans are just begging to blame a trans person, a non-white person. See, what happened to George Floyd is symbolic of what's happening in this country. The white man putting his knee on the neck of a non-white person and sitting there in broad daylight with the balls to say, who's going to stop me? And that's what we're seeing right now. So that's the question that we need to ask ourselves as a fucking country. Who's going to stop them? Because I'm just one person here. Now, I don't know about you, but I got friends and family that are sitting behind the white privilege, and I want nothing to do with them. Not because of who they are, because their lack of action. Martin Luther King said, history is going to remember not the people that did bad things, but the good people that stood by and did nothing. Because once again, the white man is hiding behind their privilege while everybody else is getting treated like absolute fucking garbage. Because it doesn't affect me. You don't even want to go on a general strike to stop fascism. Oh, I can't work. Oh, I got a job. White man is the mental health crisis in the United States of America. It has been since day one. When you look at the majority of them, what do you see? A bunch of insecure little wannabe alpha males with small penises that need big trucks and guns to feel like a real man. That's the real problem, is toxic masculinity. That the white man feels unable to shit on everyone's rights just because of how they look. It's ironic, isn't it, that they demonize black people because they're black on the outside, and yet their hearts are black on the inside. Isn't that ironic? And every single time we see a mass shooting, they're just salivating on the white supremacist red hatters to say, oh my gosh, it was an immigrant, it was a trans person, it was a gay people. 84% of gun violence is white men. But when it happens, like at the church the other day, what happens? Oh, thoughts and prayers. But what happened with the racist podcaster? Oh, they were just dying for it to be somebody on the left so they can just blame somebody else. And a white man. The Catholic, the church yesterday, a white man, a white man, a white man, a white man, a white man. Ahmaud Arbery, guess what? 3 white men that chased out a black guy. Breonna Taylor, oh, a white cop. Again, and again, and again, and again, and again. It's the same demographic. White men are the problem in this fucking country. And until we address the real mental health epidemic, which is white supremacy, built on white men controlling people, because that's how this country was designed, for 21-year-old land-owning white men to shit on everybody else. This country was designed to benefit my demographic, and that is not okay. That is the original sin of this country. And until we address it, we will never be a great country, and we haven't been a great country. And if you don't like that, then you can ship. White men are the mental health problem in this country.
Mental health is not the motive, it is the cover. For white men, this mental health excuse is just a narrative that acts as protection from scrutiny specifically about their identity, and their identity being white, cis, straight men, also most often Christian in some way. Like, if we were to actually apply the identity politics that we do to marginalized folks, to white men in these situations, we would have to question everything. All of our structures, all of the people in power, all of our leadership, all of the white supremacist patriarchal bullshit that we all live by. We would have to, right? So we have to pathologize this person as just one crazy person, one lone wolf, blah, blah, blah. Surely couldn't be his identity, because if we were to recognize that, we would have to acknowledge that he is protecting and reinforcing the systems of oppression and white supremacy and patriarchy and colonization bullshit. That is exactly what MAGA means when they say, make America great again. Like, take us back to that. And it is a perceived threat, and very heavy on the perceived part, because how are you being oppressed by the people who are you in power that are actually oppressing other people? Like, this is a fantasy land here. You are fine, dude. For the people who are genuinely and actually oppressed and marginalized, this is survival in the face of harm, and sometimes that results in harm. Like, that is human, that is a part of what we see all the time. When you poke someone to the extent that you do, you're gonna probably face some sort of reaction, right? Equal and opposite, dare I say. On the other hand, for white dudes, we have just privilege, so much privilege, and the perceived threat of that privilege being taken away. So we have entitlement, and then we have this like future grievance or current grievance because they feel, I guess, they are not awarded what they were entitled to. And so they feel they can take the lives of whoever around them for whatever reason because of them and their identity, right? So this is really what identity politics is looking like. It's like we're so close. If your identity is the reason why you have experienced harm systemically, systematically, like all of the oppression and stuff, that's the reason we give for why you lost your shit and like did a mass violence moment thing. But if you're a white guy, then your identity just has nothing to do with it, because it's just the default. You just, I guess, get a pass. Mental health has nothing to do with this. Like, that's just what they're gonna do to pathologize an individual so that they don't have to include this person in whiteness and patriarchy and, like, you know, the reasons why white cis men should continue to stay in power even though they are the ones that commit the most violence and are the ones that do this all the time. But their identity couldn't have anything to do with it.
Those messages are that black men are dangerous, because if you look at the news, there have been studies on this. Local news overrepresents black folks as perpetrators, overrepresents white folks as victims. So the message that gets sent is they're dangerous, and specifically to you. They are not only bad people, they're going to hurt you. So therefore, we want to keep them on that side of town. We want to keep their children in those schools over there. We don't want to work around them. We don't want to live around them, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that message comes through loud and clear in the way that media represents people of color. You know, whenever we thinking about Tamir Rice, the 12-year-old child that was shot in Cleveland by police, when that happened, what did they do? The first news story in Cleveland that made a big splash was about Tamir Rice's parents and the history of domestic abuse and criminality among his parents, not about the cop that killed him. We talk worse about black victims than we do white killers. What did we say about Ted Bundy? Oh, he was so smart and he was so quiet and he always seemed so nice. Every time one of these white boys goes and shoots up a school, what do we say? We had no idea he was going to do this. So we talk better. We have more sympathy for white folks who commit mass murder, bury bodies under the house, cook them up in a soup pot and eat them, right?
They come to our country and they rape our women. Are they? Are they? This is a list of convicted rapists from 2011 to 2018. Rape of a female aged 18 and under, majority white. 16 and over, majority white. In fact, every single list, majority white. Under 13, majority white. Again, if you look at every single category on that list, every single person is majority white. All of my abusers, guess what colour they were? They were all white. Every single fucking one of them. So maybe we should stop blaming ethnicity groups coming to the UK seeking refuge from a country that's unsafe for them being the problem for violence against women. This is coming from a domestic abuse victim of rape, victim of sexual assault. Reform does my head in.
All right, look, so with the shooting we had today, this is something we honestly need to start talking about, right? Because it's been confirmed that the shooter at the Minnesota Catholic School identified as trans. I'm not going to do that person the credit of even saying their name out loud. But we have to start asking the question, is there a pattern here, right? Because what percentage of Americans identify as trans? Right, that number is amazingly low. All right, but what percentage of shootings are by that very small amount of people?
So I love stats. Since Columbine, there has been over 5,000 mass shootings in the United States of America. And out of those 5,000 mass shootings, which is 4 people or more, not including the shooter that ended up dying, only 0.01% of those people identified as trans. Let's skip a little bit. Let's go to school shooters. There has been this many mass school shootings since Columbine. And if there has only been 9 people that have identified as trans and or non-binary, that brings the total to 1.08% of the people who committed mass shootings, school shootings, in the United States of America. That means there are more people that identify as a straight white male, or a Republican, or a Democrat, or a liberal, or MAGA. There are more of those than trans people. So is there a pattern? You're damn right there's a pattern. The pattern is mental health. The pattern is having access to these weapons. Plain and simple. Don't try to blame a specific group. The trans people, the non-binary people. Don't blame them, because obviously numbers matter. And breaking down the numbers, they're not doing the crimes that straight white men are doing. Let me know your thoughts.
People don't believe me when I tell them this, but the reason I started posting anti-racist content is because of my experiences with sexual assault. I had two different experiences, once when I was a 14-year-old freshman in high school and another time when I was an 18-year-old freshman in college. And both times I was assaulted, it was a white man from a wealthy family, and I came forward, reported it, and obviously nothing happened, right? So in the aftermath of everything, I was trying to make sense of how could this system that I believed in fail me, and just feeling so isolated, alone, and angry. So I started researching feminist content and how to hold these men accountable. And that was when I started college as well. So at Brown, I was learning a lot about race, class, and other social issues around the world. And so between my independent research and what I was learning in class, I realized that my experience was not unique in any way, shape, or form. And in fact, it is an inevitable product of a corrupt system. And to me, you can't promote women's rights without also promoting the equality and freedom of Black and brown people worldwide, or the freedom of trans, indigenous, queer people, because every single struggle is intimately connected. And just like the system failed me when I was too young to protect myself and needed somebody there, it fails plenty of other people too in different ways.
So the solution to the gun debate is that we should just ban men. They're behind 90% of homicides worldwide. In the United States, they're behind 86% of gun deaths, 98% of mass shootings, and 99% of SAs. So it only makes sense. If they were gone, the world would be a lot safer place. So let me know what you think of that.
Dangerous, vindictive demographic that you need to watch out for are the mediocre white men. Because what do you mean? You can clean up and look good, put on some nice clothes, and people will believe that you belong in leadership. What do you mean that people will listen to you when you speak? Automatically gain respect. Having that kind of advantage and still being poor and mediocre tells you a lot about that person's mindset. Hard done by. Victim mindset, and then someone else has to pay. Look at the majority of the supremacist movement and who actually funds that movement. Who's the majority in the movement? You may think that the most privileged white men are the movement, but that's not true. The bottom of the hierarchy think that this is the way to gain power. I'm still gonna include the liberal, mediocre white men in this group because they just found their way of coping to coast being mediocre. They benefit off of other people's labor. That's their strategy. They love to be low effort, coast, and they believe that's their right and entitlement. If you're a hard worker and someone very competent, they love that about you. They love to powergasm. They love to ride on the backs, especially women of the global majority, because that's where they can feel powerful. You are worth more, but they can have power over you. They love that. Do not ever get enmeshed with these individuals because it's hard enough to deal with them in corporate and business. You do not want them in your house or have finances entangled with this person. He feels entitled to your labor, and he's gonna make sure that you pay him with a lifetime of slavery. The most dangerous, vindictive demographic that you need to watch out for are the mediocre white men. Because what do you mean? You can clean up and look good.
White people can't gaslight me into thinking that Black people are violent. When you have historically been the most violent across a whole nation, I'm not ever going to compare someone running in a corner store and robbing it because they live in a system inside of a neighborhood that you created so they fail, to you pulling out somebody's teeth and putting it in your mouth. Boiling babies, raping and unaliving people. If we're going to talk about violence, it starts with you. It will always start with you. I don't care about a carjacking. I don't care about a pew-pew. It starts with you. If we compare and contrast apples to oranges, you win every time at the most violent, vicious criminals. Without any without moral clause, morality, anything. Savages, I would say. Because I would never put nobody on a boat, packed, stacked high, and make them work for me for free. While I grape their women, take off the sexual parts of their men, also grape their children and sell them. I would never. So when we talking about violence, talk about that.
Seriously, lovelies, in as far as this has really taken a long turn for people, for especially white people, to finally realize the truth in front of them, I must still commend the fact that some of them decided to come out to tell the truth. This truth is long overdue. Oftentimes, Black people have been playing, with whatsoever that is going on. That people have been the ones at the receiving end. They have been the ones being blamed about the high rate of crime. Like 2 days ago, I actually stitched, well, not even 2 days, like in 24 hours ago, I stitched a video of a pan-colored man talking about how black culture is all about, all of the negativity that he has to spew out, which I cannot even bring myself to spew it out. This man got as far as to share how 13% of the, black community happens to be the ones who commit the highest of the crime, without even diving into a real statistic. And now, statistically, these people are actually the ones that have already committed, or that has been and will still be the ones committing the highest rate of crime. Let's take, for instance, the previous, or the one that just happened, what I said last month to this month. Like, let's take, for instance, the school shootings that have been going all over the social platform, that have been happening so frequently. Who are those ones? Let's just take, for instance, just the recent happenings. Then you find out that the people who are involved are a lot of people. Even though the society the people that are involved, when it has to do with maybe white people, they wouldn't want to mention the race. But when it's something that has to do with maybe black person, that like you'll be listening, or you'll be hearing, oh, a black man actually pew pew, that was it, but when they will call it an individual, right? Because they know exactly what is going on. They know exactly what they are doing. They don't want to keep registering that statistics, to keep proving the point, to keep telling the world that the people who has this high percentage of committing crimes and all of that are actually, thank a lot, men. I will just specify men. Let's just, call a spade a spade. They have been the ones that is being involved in most of the PPUs that is going on in the country, most of the raping that is going on in the country. Am I even going to talk about the judge that has to, oh my God, I staged that video 2 days ago about a particular judge in a state that was arrested. That was because he has everything to do with underage, the rest of it. I can't even bring myself up to spew what this judge has to do. Imagine the person who is a judge, someone that people actually look up to, people look up to you as a judge, as a white male judge, for justice, for crime to be resolved, but you are actually the one committing the said crime. If a judge can do whatsoever that he's doing, what now happens to people who are not into the laws, or into all of this judiciary stuff? What will not happen to them? That means they will do the undo. So many petty officials all over the state, doing one or two things to underaged, and majority of them statistically happens to be white male. So now, what is it with all of the trying to make it look like black people are the ones that has the high rate of crime? Black male. I wouldn't say that something like that does not really happen, but who has the highest? There have been so many narratives that black people commit the highest of crime, black people do this, black people, like, sometimes I was like, why is it that these people keep on lying? Why is it that they can't just, because for a problem to get solved, you must first of all acknowledge that problem, then before any form of solving the problem. If you can't acknowledge a problem, there is no point to solve it. There won't be a solution to it. So I like the fact that, some of them right about now is coming out to really acknowledge the problem in their own community, to address it, to call a spade, especially what is really happening recently with the school pupils and all of that. It's all about bank colored people. And before you know it, they're tagging its mental illness, mental whatsoever. They won't say it's a culture. They won't target culture. They will target mentor. But when it happens, when it has to do with black people, oh, it's their culture. I have seen so many people talking about how black culture is rooted in crime. Even pastors have to say that. And sometimes I just shake my head. What is really wrong with these people? Why can't they just call a spade a spade? Like, seriously, lovelies. When I saw these stitches, when I saw this clip, I was like, for something to get solved, for a problem to get solved, it really has to do with really, really finding the root of this problem. And I believe that with all of these stitches, if many of people like this keep on coming out to talk the truth or to speak the truth, I think the problem is already quarter solved, even if not half. The problems escalate when people refuse to acknowledge that there is a problem. When people acknowledge that, oh, I am even one of the problem, how will I help myself to get rid of such a problem? Anyway, lovelies, wanna just leave me your own thought in the comment section of what I think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We're just here for educational and informative purposes. So please, if you're not subscribed to this channel, do your girl a huge favor to click on the subscription button. Like, and I will see you lovelies when I upload the next one. In the comment section of what you think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We are just here for educational and informative purposes. So please share this video. Subscribe to this channel if you're yet to do that. Like, and I will see you lovelies when I upload the next one.